They're 11-4 so far. NewBee, I couldn't really go that far back because they've had a lot of two-game series where they've gone 1-1. They've drawn up with some of the big teams, but right now they're 6-4. They've lost quite a lot over the past couple of weeks. They've defeated eHome, but they're still losing to teams like HGT and CDEC. Whereas IG, they're on like a 7-game winning streak, a 7-series winning streak. They've definitely got they've definitely hit their stride and they've got the steam going. But what do you expect from this best of 3?
All right, so the thing that looms over everybody's head that you should discuss at all times is the fact that TI is coming up, and in some ways, it's unfortunate because teams live and die around TI, but especially a team like NewBee, these guys, I mean, they've tasted the biggest victory ever by winning the largest prize pool ever in Dota 2, right? And so everything after that is gonna feel like a bit of a letdown. But TI is coming up again, and I'm actually really curious to see what Valve do because NewBee's just had the worst time, but they're the defending champions and they've retained most of the a really similar roster to what they had last time, right? Like they've got 3 out of the 5 players. Who knows if they get a direct qualifier invite based on their previous success?
Yeah.
But I'd say that it's most likely not going to be a precedent where if you're the defending team but you suck throughout the rest of the year, you're probably not just going to get a direct invite because Alliance and Navi, when they were directly invited again, they were still always okay. Same with IG, right? Like they got TI in the preceding year and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be an interesting match just to see NewBee. They're probably going to play really hard the month or so leading up to TI and the qualifiers. And if they don't win the qualifiers, maybe that's the kick in the butt they need to say, okay, we can't just get by with what we've had before.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching them sort of progress though, because obviously straight after TI there were talks of them playing different games and playing RPGs and things like that, not focusing on Dota 2. But since January, you've definitely seen them progress from being very, very rusty, not really having the drafts or following what's going on in the rest of the Dota scene, not really watching Southeast Asian, European Dota. But the past, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, something's clicked. They have been performing a lot better than sort of January, February. They're still not up there yet, but I think I agree with you. The next coming months are definitely going to be telltale signs for whether or not NewBee, even get a qualifier spot for TI, never mind a direct invite. But the draft so far, Batrider and Storm taken out by IG so far. Pretty common heroes, while the Troll and Sniper, NewBee don't want to be dealing with them, allowing themselves to get the SF and ES. But Queen of Pain for IG. That's a pretty scary hero when you couple it up with AA, they're just global presence pretty much. Queen of Pain has so many openings just to blink in onto squishy heroes and take them out with that long-range Ice Blast.
Yeah, and the Queen of Pain right now, you've seen a huge resurgence in it. People really didn't know. With the buff, you didn't see it get picked quite often, but now teams are really starting to favor this hero really highly. I think I rang for BBC against NIP, and I rang for Hehe United against BBC, and both teams had really strong thoughts and opinions about Queen of Pain. She doesn't really lose her lane to anybody, and in this meta too, where BKB first or second item is really prevalent, she'll still do damage with her ultimate. And I think that the hero is strong in terms of laning because you don't have to necessarily put it in the mid lane. You could do some really wonky stuff like we saw at MLG Empire. They dual offlaned with a Queen of Pain and an Undying. You can run it in the short lane like EG did with Fear. There's just a lot of options. Like you're not static forced into putting this hero mid anymore.
Yeah.
Like you can put it to contest the carry, to get free farm against an offlaner like something like Quap, or Clock is what I meant to say. There's a lot of heroes that sound similar.
Yeah, definitely. From Chinese teams, we're seeing a lot of safe lane Queen of Pain. Some of the tier 2 Chinese teams, picking up Orchid into Shadowblade. We saw that from Ferrari not too long ago as well. The Shadowblade to allow you to initiate with that and then, blink yourself further forward to carry on the chase or blink back if you get into danger. So we're seeing some interesting things, just sort of it's not really theory crafting. It's just like, oh look, this item kinda works. Let's continue using this. It's a great damage dealer as well. But Chen they're taken out after the Wisp. NewBee they're betting out a lot of sort of meta heroes. Wisp for IG. Don't want to be giving Ferrari or Burning tiny Wisp combination along with AA and Queen of Pain. You're just going to be hiding wherever you are on the map, trying to keep in the fog, keep in the trees, and it really does put a lot of pressure on your supports where they need to keep the warding up just to see where Relocate's going to come from, where Burning's farming, and when that Tiny is going to get his Aghanims up.
Yeah. It seems, I think I've actually casted a lot of China Dota recently. Like I cast the, was it the VP game finals as well, and it feels like drafting in China is definitely really different than drafting in the West, because in the West we favor heroes like Wisp and Chen, like at MLG, and I keep referencing MLG, but it was the latest tournament that was large, right?
Yeah.
And we saw those heroes banned, and at the Summit as well, like you're probably going to see Chen and Wisp banned in the first 2 against almost every single team. And so it seems though that the Chinese players, captains, don't favor the hero as much. I think that Troll and Sniper are super highly rated at every scene. Like that's the one common theme. And then Storm and Batrider, I think Batrider is still really commonly used everywhere. And Storm, this is kind of a weird pick because I don't want to say it's overpowered, but in the competitive scene, it's really hard to stop him because he's going to get farmed no matter what. He doesn't lose the laning phase doesn't matter as much just because of the fact that if you get a kill and you're level 9 Storm and you set up for a kill on the opposing mid who's like level 11, you'll catch right back up. So.
And quite often with Chinese teams nowadays, they kind of go down one path or another with their draft. You know, there's lots of pick-off power, but a lot of the time they do go for sort of a 20 to 25 minute power push with the momentum they build up from lanes to try and take down tier 1, tier 2 towers. If there is a Storm in the game, and you know he can zip from the fountain, he can buy back and defend these towers relatively easily. It's not as great a draft anymore. You know, you might think, okay, I've got Mech Shadow Fiend, I've got Juggernaut with Mask of Manus and Phase Boots,
Yeah.
and I'm running into these towers. All of a sudden, there's Storm, Queen of Pain, AA just suddenly on your ass, and there's no way to really continue pushing, and there's no real way to disengage when you're against the Storm Spirit. He's just got so much mana, the Soul Ring efficiency with his Ball Lightning as well. Chasing power is pretty ridiculous.
I think I said when I was casting with Toby that if there was supposed to be a nerf for Storm, it would be the armor. But I think Storm is more a product of the metagame right now and the patch. I should just say the patch instead of the metagame because buyback right now is so strong, and so is just the comeback potential of the hero itself, not just the patch, is too powerful, I feel. So I think if anything's going to be nerfed, it should be, instead of Storm itself, it should be buyback as a whole. I think should be changed a little bit or nullified. And the Roshan thing too, right? We saw EG, they play around the pit a lot with Sumail, just kind of zipping in. There's actually no way for the enemy team to really stop that. Or you can kind of predict it, but it's still hard if a Storm has like a BKB and he just decides to roll in and try to steal your Aegis, right? And that's really prevalent in this patch. And so it's become this thing where it's first pick, second pick, and you don't really worry about counters anymore because nobody really picks like silencers as support or anything. And it's not even like Skyrath. Skyrath's got like a weird power curve against him where he's useful with the silence, but if Storm gets a BKB or a Euls, then it becomes useless. But we shouldn't talk about that hero anymore because it's
he's
not
banned out.
Yeah,
he's
he's
gone.
banned out. But there's like so many thoughts I have on the hero and why things work out. So hopefully somebody finds that interesting. But NewBee take Lina.
Ooh.
Really powerful hero. Slark is a hero that we saw used a lot at the beginning of the patch, and not so much just because of the, you know, Axe, Sniper, Troll all do well against it, and we see one of the heroes that are better against it as well just get picked up by IG.
Instantly from IG Faith. He's got NewBee's number right now, but I just want to come back to your silencer thought. We did see that, like especially in China, I want to say. Europe not so much, but support silencer in that 5 role, where they thought, okay, with a Storm and against the Storm, we can use it as like this umbrella ability, global silence, to play aggressively or defensively. It worked a lot of the time aggressively. When you're on the front foot and you're able to go in with global silence, you can completely nullify what your opponents do to defend towers or to turn fights around. Because a lot of the game nowadays is based on initiation and counter initiation. That's pretty much the way you look at team fights right now. Who gets into the key targets and who can take them out first and make up the numbers advantage to really turn things around. But when you're now on the defensive as a silencer, global silence isn't that useful because heroes jump in. Once they're in, they've already got their initiation, they're already doing their damage, and global silence is sort of like I guess we'll try and run away and disengage, but it doesn't always work out that way.
The big thing too right now is that the 5 position role, it's mainly used for playing defensively, stacking, doing things of that nature, trying not to get picked off. And so I think that the hero just doesn't do enough. It doesn't add enough flavor to the game. It doesn't do well as a 4 because I don't think the roaming potential of it is high. A lot of 4s now that you see are heroes that can set up for kills or work in conjunction with other heroes to set up kills. But global silence takes too long for it to matter. And it's not like Last Word and Curse are the spells you need to kill a low HP hero, right? And so heroes like Lina, you'll see very commonly now as a support. Lion, things of that nature I think are a lot stronger. And we see NewBee, what looks like an offlane Earthshaker, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the Lina and the Shadow Demon combo, which, again, people are going to hate me for referencing, but EG ran quite a bit. Like, they ran PPD as the Shadow Demon, which is a hero that we saw almost completely phase out of this meta, but has started to kind of come back around.
Yeah, it's pretty great. He started off picking it as basically just a defensive support when Batrider was getting picked up. He's like, well, I guess, there's no Rubik, there's no anything else really. Maybe Abaddon, but he didn't want to go that route. So now we're starting to see it from a lot of teams. I think London Conspiracy was the one that I always used to bring up. They loved it. They loved the Shadow Demon, Lina, and, well, Kunkka or Invoker with Sunstrike, just to have that kind of cheesy control and just nuke someone down into oblivion. But Morphling is the final pickup here from IG, so it does leave Chuan on the Rubik and Faith on that AA. Axe heading towards the off lane, but where do they put the Morph? Because it looks like Queen of Pain mid and then Morph safe lane, just give that guaranteed farm to Burning on the Morphling. You could switch things up and put it mid, though. Against an SF... not really going to be a great matchup unless you have support sitting on him for the early laning stage. But Queen of Pain against SF, it's more of a 50-50 matchup than it used to be. That used to be Queen of Pain pretty much stomping the lane. Now it can be turned around with some good raises from Mu.
I think that in the matchup, you just try not to go for kills on either side. Like, if you're the Queen of Pain before, you would have to feel like you had to get aggressive, otherwise the Shadow Fiend would just out-farm you. But Queen of Pain has options to go in the late game with things like Aghanims anyways, and so I don't think that it's necessary to all in to try to kill him. At the same time, it does do quite okay in the lane, but Mu's a really good player, so it shouldn't be like he'll die anyways to it. Then again, it's Ferrari, so who knows?
Yeah, it's Ferrari. Chuan running down to the spot lane with an Observer Ward, looking to get one down as early as he can. But yeah, it's going to be offlane Earthshaker for June, and this is something that I've really liked seeing. It doesn't force the Earthshaker to literally sit behind the Shadow Fiend mid. You've still got the option to move yourself down from the top lane, or TP if... Oh man, that's a big fish. You're onto 2, Chuan. Telekinesis back. Chilling Touch might give them the opportunity to go for a kill here. Rabbit looking for that leap, but the waveform from Burning allows him to escape. They do lose quite a bit of HP over an IG, burning through a little bit of regen. But in the end, they get the... Oh, wait. Did he... No, he didn't place his ward. The sentry's placed for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he just thought if he was down there that quickly that they had gone for the ward, but honestly, I think NewBee was kind of off the mark there, because with June setting up, if they had all kind of ran in and did things in conjunction with each other, I don't think it's likely that you kill Burning there, who's got waveform, but you can definitely kill the Rubik, who was caught out of position, right? Like, the hero has 0 armor and 500 HP. Like, if you throw down the disruption, you have ways around that, but a little bit of a misstep, I feel. Because the Lina stun went off as well before the disruption. Like, it just felt like everything was out of sync there.
Well, June heads up the top. He's not got enough mana to fish or block this wave off, so it looks like Lure up on this top lane. Axe is going to have a pretty decent time against June's Earthshaker. Aggro try here. Burning Morphling, Chuan, Rubik, Faith on the AA, that Chilling Touch. Could look to rip through these two supports. Banana and Sansheng on the Shadow Demon and Lina respectively. They don't have great HP pools. A lot of their early game comes from early aggression. With the disruption into Light Strike Array, then Rabbit pounces in. But with the counter, Telekinesis lifts them up. Burning Waveform. There's lots here that IG can do to just stop NewBee's farm down on the spot lane. Sure, Lina with that ridiculously long range can look to try and out-harass and get some right clicks in there between the little scuffles, but overall, IG should be looking pretty good down in the spot lane, unless Burning gets hit by a Light Strike Array behind his own creep wave.
The thing too, though, is that we should realize is that Rabbit's wave escaping costs him nothing. Like, Pounce is 75 mana, you have 235 overall, whereas Waveform, you can use it like twice, if that. And like, Burning can only use it once right now, and in sort of this aggro tri-lane situation, you should more or less consider him to be a melee hero, right?
Yeah.
Because he has to come in so close. The Lina having one of the largest ranges in the game, it's too hard for him to CS if it's not by his tower. And NewBee get a little bit unlucky with their ward. If you click on the sentry, it just doesn't catch that observer ward. And both of these wards are just a response to the fact that they thought IG was down there faster than them. Like, they felt that they had to get down there, right? And they thought there was a ward already planted. But they're actually pinging the location, so they should know that the ward is down there now. And it's going to be hard for them to get aggressive as if they come in from the jungle, which is the common thing to do.
Ferrari is taking a little bit of a beating here from Mu. A couple of raises up to level 2 now, but he will get himself a haste rune up at top. Last hit wise, they're pretty even, but there's a pretty nice wave here for for Ferrari if he can get the last hits in, which he will succeed at doing. The contest, though, of this pull. Burning looking for it with Faith behind him, but Chuan is really far back here. What's he waiting for? They've got a smoke. There we go. There we go. AA and Rubik. Cold feet and telekinesis. Rubik's only level 1, so there's no Fade Bolt to try and finish someone off, but with Ferrari mid lane Queen of Pain, I'll probably try and find a kill on Moo on the Shadow Fiend pretty shortly.
Moo should know this is coming, though. If you aggro tri-lane, this is one of the weaker things. It's just that if the supports ever rotate out, it's really obvious. And Burning's actually doing the correct thing here, is that he's not playing completely back. He's kind of pretending like both supports are behind him, right? Because if you just run back as the carry, which people are, they often do, then it becomes really obvious, but...
Nice disruption there, stopping telekinesis, dragging it back, but Moo still goes down. The first blood to Ferrari with the help of Chilling Touch. Good try by Banana, though. Telekinesis lifted him up, but he couldn't be dragged back closer into Ferrari and Faith. Still, though, that Chilling Touch level 1. Ridiculous amount of damage this early on.
Yeah, and I feel like he should have seen that coming, just from the fact that both supports are missing off the map. They're not contesting June at all, because they don't need to. It's an Axe against an Earthshaker. Like, the Axe is going to do more than well up here. And this actually helps so much for both of the supports, because at bottom, they're not going to get any levels from killing anybody, because who are you going to kill in that tri-lane, right? And so your only option, if you really think about it, is to go mid. And it really felt like NewBee knew that for a second, but maybe he just... Moo just felt a little bit too aggressive because the Shadow Demon was there, so he's like, okay, worst comes to worst, some sort of disruption will land and I'll be okay anyways. But he has to play more careful than that when both the supports are missing off the map.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree. The two supports down on bot, they could be targets for IG, but it's going to be a misstep from NewBee, you feel, that puts them out of position if they get a little bit too aggressive. Like disruption, Light Strike Array onto the Morphling who survives, and then IG come in to maybe take down the little old Slark, but he's got plenty of regen, he's got Magic Stick. If Ferrari gets a lucky rune at bot, that might open things up for them. Axe, Lure up on top lane. Vanguard first, you reckon, or do you rush the Blink? We see a lot of sort of roll one-ish Axes, which I'm going to call him here. He's on the safe lane against the melee. He's got pretty much free farm. Go for a Vanguard first to give you that a little bit of tankiness, and you can farm freely anywhere on the map.
Yeah, getting a Vanguard would make you pretty much invincible. And you could also go to the... If somebody on IG, I'd imagine, will eventually stack for him and allow him to do Ancients and things of that nature, but I guess we'll just have to see. And I mean, the Axe has already started to kind of semi-stack for himself over here. Like, this is actually double stacked, but it's actually warded up now by the Earthshaker, and so... But this is a lane that Axe wins anyways, and both supports are trying to get aggressive on the map, just trying to move around. It's not 100% necessary for them to be up here, though, just because of the lead that she already has.
Once Axe has Vanguard or has some, decent farm, do you switch the lanes then? Because we've seen a couple of Chinese teams, start off with an aggro tri-lane or have Morphling in the off lane, and then throw the supports away from the aggro tri-lane back up to the safe lane and keep the Morphling as like a strength morph. But the fact he's gone for the waveform build kind of makes me feel that they do still want Burning to farm a hell of a lot. He's not going to transition at all. He still wants to get those items up. I kind of feel that Axe should be heading down to the bot lane sooner or later, maybe 6 minutes in once he has a Vanguard, or maybe he goes Tranquil Boots first.
I think once the Axe has some way to not take so much advantage of this, then he'll rotate over, because the Earthshaker versus Morphling, especially with the Morph being as underleveled and underfarmed as he is, it's not like Morphling will take full advantage of that. But this Axe right now, what is Earthshaker even supposed to do to get farm, right? Like, the only thing he can do is throw Fissure once in a while to pick up a CS. Like, there's not a whole lot for June to do up here, and so I think if you're IG, it's not like you're losing your other lanes, and it looks like they're trying to make an aggressive move on June up here, who doesn't have Fissure.
Oh, and Chant Totem nearly stops Low getting that call off, but Creep Wave comes in, a couple of spins, and Jacob drops. Yeah, he's tried pulling across from this large camp into his Creep Wave, but not really succeeded. He doesn't have the mana sustain to block off his wave coming in every wave. Burning actually stacking up Ancients for his teammate. Not something you see every day. Burning stacking for someone else.
Might as well at this point. And like I said, somebody's gonna... I didn't specify who, so somebody's gonna stack the Ancients, though, for the Axe. And if he decides to go for this Vanguard build, it'll be really easy for him to clear. And I think if this lane was significantly worse for Burning, you could see like a rotation right now. But it's not the worst thing in the world, and that's why they don't immediately switch. Like, if this lane went really horribly and they weren't able to kill Moo, then I think options have to arise where you have to secure burnings and farm. But it's not come to that point yet. He hasn't died yet. Like, if Burning had died once or twice by now, I think he would have rotated.
Okay.
But it hasn't happened yet, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. And both the NewBee supports, I mean, Banana and Sunshine, they were really heralded at TI, but unable to make their smoke gank happen. And it feels like Moo right now is still doing a pretty good job of CSing, but their supports aren't really getting the most accomplished on this map right now. Like, they're level 2 and 3 respectively. There's nothing stacked, right? Like, there's actually not a single stack in the game right now, not even at the Ancients. So, and they're both only level 2 and 3 respectively, so it hasn't really done anything so far.
Oh, and Rabbit on this bot lane. Ferrari is invis. Axe has his Blink Dagger. His first item there is Slark. Is that Midas recipe for him? He picked up something and then sold it again. I'm guessing he bought Midas recipe and then sold it, still not deciding what he wants to go for. But yeah, the two supports headed toward mid. The creep lane had been pushed out though. Ferrari was pretty much standing at his tier 1, so there's no real opening there. Another smoke maybe. Chuan, yeah, smoke up with Lure. Time to go and make this Blink Dagger work. The debut gonna make it showing at mid lane. Moo is a little bit too far back right now. Now he's moved forward. It's time to strike. Lure jumps forward. Call onto Moo. In comes Ferrari. Sonic Wave should finish him off pretty easily. The dunk actually will secure the kill for Luo on that axe. The TP response, Banana saw it. Thought, okay, I can TP and disrupt, but the damage output was just too insanely quick.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot that NewBee can do, even with Banana there. I think that unless your team is ready with like 3 or 4 heroes, you don't really have the best way to respond. Like, the Earthshaker has to have a TP and be ready almost instantly, but the burst damage is unreal. Like, even if he TPs there, he's dead. And so NewBee have this draft where they kind of have defensive heroes, but it's an offlane Earthshaker, so he can't really rotate. And you've also got a situation where your Shadow Demon is so underleveled that he can't really make anything happen on the map. And the one gank attempt so far has failed, and it just feels IG is making better use of their time and their space.
Yeah, 2 of their smokes have resulted in kills. The third one just used now by Chuan and Luo, not really culminating in anything. They got spotted out by the
might actually be a kill though. Ferrari actually wasted his blink.
He's disrupted up. A couple more poison stacks here. When's blink off cooldown? Ferrari, 6 seconds. Yeah, there's no way he's getting out of that one.
That was aggressive. I don't think he needed... blinking up for a rune, I guess he didn't think... obviously he didn't think Banana was there, but still, going for that was a little bit aggressive. Probably thought only the Earthshaker was there, but the damage from the Shadow Demon and the Earthshaker more than enough. And that's what they need. Kills to fall into their hands.
Yeah. Well, the IG are giving Faith a little bit of room up on top. He's about to hit level 6. Lure, though, has been spending a lot of time, 45 seconds or something, in these trees, waiting for a moment to strike onto Rabbit. Maybe when level 6, yep, Faith, Ice Blast is launched down to bot lane. Rabbit. His teammates picking him out. Earthshaker saying, go and hide in the trees. Axe is still missing. He could be anywhere. The TP's actually coming in. Ice Blast will land onto Rabbit, and this is just going to signal to back himself up. Hide behind the tier 1. There's no reason to push yourself out and show yourself to the Axe.
And I think this actually reveals the TP as well from June. And if you notice, he just rotates immediately out of there. He's like, okay, there's no point for this. And the problem if you're NewBee right now is that your Earthshaker is underleveled and underfarmed in a one-on-one position, right? Normally lanes don't matter that much, but if it's a one-on-one position like that, it matters a hell of a lot. Like, you expected, or not you expected, but NewBee expected IG not to aggressive tri-lane. They thought that was just going to be a straight-up offlane Axe. And putting that kind of turn into that plan makes it a little bit difficult because he definitely wasn't geared up for a 1v1 versus an Axe, and you don't want a melee hero against Axe anyways.
Oh wow, they're just launching Ice Blast down in this bot lane. Rabbit can do nothing to go and get last hit, so this has completely changed the dynamic. Burning's getting a whole bunch. He's tripled his last hits over like the past 2 minutes or something like that. Now up to 33 and 12. Midas completed by the Slark, but taking a look at net worth. Oh, wait a second. 3 heroes smoked up behind Moo. He's playing relatively aggressively onto this tier 1 tower, but there's going to be no response. Faith and Chuan both up at top. Luo back to farming the jungle. They're looking for Ferrari, hiding behind his tier 1. The 2 supports, plus June, just waltzing around looking for something. But Ferrari, again, you can't see where they're going. You know that these supports are going to be roaming. That is their main strength. Sometimes we see the Lina stacking, pulling, and farming the jungle relatively efficiently.
Okay, but Ferrari spotted them out, and this is so much time wasted by NewBee. This is their second smoke that didn't work, and this took so long. This was like a minute and a half where both the supports at top just got levels and farm. Like, that AA almost has a Midas.
Oh, Ice Blast into Banana the call, but Disruption allows him to dodge that. Luo should be able to find the kill here with the illusions. No procking the spin. Fisher now dunk, but Dragon Sleeve finishes off Luo, and that's a big kill for Sansheng. Up to 625 gold. He will die here, though, to Ferrari and Chuan.
Yeah, and like I said, the Ancient Apparition almost has a Midas off of that. Chuan's got Arcane Boots already. He's almost level 7. Like, he's almost the same level as the Earthshaker. I think Faith is going to be a higher level than the Earthshaker after this creep wave, plus the Midas that's going to fly in for him shortly. And all of a sudden, I mean, I don't even know how Burning did it, but he's going to overtake the Slark now in farm, and the Slark had a relatively free time. And so all of the lanes now have paid off for IG, because Burning was kind of like their main thing, is that, oh, Burning only has 11 CS, we're perfectly fine. And now he's almost at a reasonable CS.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking at that exactly. 11 CS at about 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes, something along those lines. But then the AA hit level 6. And it was just Ice Blast after Ice Blast. 3 of them launched down just in front of the tier 1 at bot. So Burning could just sit in the creep wave. He was under no threat whatsoever. They knew that the supports were moving around looking for that disrupt into Light Strike array. Sentry ward is placed down, so they'll manage to get rid of that observer ward down there. But we're going to see another smoke. No? Yeah, Axe has a smoke. Luo and Chuan once again. Gonna go around and maybe look to double team up on this Slark. Sansheng maybe is a little bit of an easier target though.
Yeah, and they're gonna kill him for sure. There's no reason not to just go for free kills in this situation, and he goes down really quickly. You give the kill to Burning as well. You notice that they sentryed this because the most common thing to do on the Radiant side is just push a ward up here and to protect your safe lane, but they immediately sentry to check for one. And at this top lane as well, this is a weird dynamic where Faith has a Midas, but if you smoke gank him, you're smoke ganking an AA. But at the same time, do you really even consider him a support when he's got a really similar Midas timing to your own Slark? And if you just leave him up here to farm, he's going to get an Ags really quickly, and he pretty much takes both of your support heroes. Like, he pretty much has right now. He's got 39 CS. That's more than the offlane Earthshaker. And IG have just, every single time they've gone for a gank, it's worked. Whereas for the flip side, NewBee have gone for several gank attempts, and it hasn't.
Yeah. Well, you take a look at net worth now, and the AA has just overtaken the Earthshaker. So this,
okay,
like you call the AA like originally he was in a 5 spot, right? The Rubik was the 4, even though he went boots first. He was looking for the early aggression, but then the dynamic changes, like you said. You switch your farm priority and XP priority a lot for heroes like Ancient Apparition, just to get you up to level 6. It's kind of been lucky he got that Midas. A lot of the focus from NewBee has been towards mid lane on Ferrari, maybe to try and stop this early aggression. He's going for the Necro build, actually. No Orchid, no Aghanims, no Shadow Blade or anything along those lines.
I think an Orchid would honestly not accomplish too much here. There's the Shadow Demon Disrupt, and you don't necessarily want to open up against the Shadow Demon, right? And SF is going to go Yules anyways. It's too hard to do it against Slark because of the way that his skills work, and so I think it's not the best item to go for. In IG, this might look like a failed smoking gank for them, and yeah, and so gonna waste a little bit more time for them. But at the same time, Faith just continues to farm, and he's making the most out of his time. And if nothing happens on the map and the game just stays static, IG will win simply just because of the fact that they're gonna outfarm, I feel.
Yeah, also at the same time, NewBee were pretty much 4-manning, 5-manning bot lane. It's something that we've seen for them when things get a little bit desperate. They do just throw bodies into one lane, try and bait someone out. In this case, it was the Slark. A lot of the times it's Moo at mid, and they sit 4 heroes behind him. When they need to make something happen, they look for the counter initiation just to try and bait a team fight to happen and turn things around. Now they're on the aggressive though, with the smoke forward. June and Banana. They're going to walk into 3 here. Ferrari, sure, he's low on HP. He's trying to finish off that Necro, but they move themselves up to top lane. Maybe looking for the AA or Axe, hiding in the jungle camps over here. There's no one to be found. And Burning, guess what? Free farming bot lane. 61 last hits. He's up to 3rd in net worth, overtaking the Axe and the Slark.
Yeah, and the Axe has been trying to make stuff happen around the map. He's actually going to do this Ancient stack and catch up a little bit in levels. The good news, though, it feels like I'm just kind of calling out NewBee right now, but Moo's still getting incredible farm. Like, he's got 6.1k net worth, to be expected out of a Shadow Fiend. The pace of the game has really slowed down for him, which works in his favor, and he's got a lot of levels as well. Like, if you just take a look at his level compared to everybody else's, like, he's level 11 right now. If the pace of this game stays as well, Moo's gonna have like a monster game, but it's kind of just the rest of NewBee that concerns me, because if you look at the next 3 top net worth, you're seeing all IG.
And Slark is a hero that really does, rely on snowballing in this period here especially. He's got Treads and Midas. His next itemization is going to be pretty important for him. Ring of Aquila, pretty standard there. So he's just building up his stats a little bit. Allows him to solo farm and solo push just a tiny bit and not be too threatened. There's still the big hole jump in from Axe with Ice Blast and Sonic Wave, but he should be okay for now. Next, what do you think? Do you need to go Blink here just to catch someone out? Because you're still dealing with the Queen of Pain who can blink out of your leash. Or do you want a Shadow Blade to pick off the supports on the back lines? AA and Rubik, Shadow Blade past the Axe and Morphling and try and find them.
I think if you go... There's no real good solution in this game just because the Ancient Apparition is so farmed. But same with the Axe. If you had to, I guess the Shadow Blade would be okay, but I'd like to see him go for a little bit better stats. Like even getting... Cause the issue is that even if he gets a BKB, it's kind of pointless because almost everything IG have go through BKB, right? Or it's not too reliant on BKB. Like you can still get called. The Queen of Pain will still destroy you in fights. I think you just go for stats, like
S and Y. We're seeing Slark S and Y a lot, but I don't know. That kind of puts a lot of the onus on Shadow Fiend getting the Yule's Requiem disruption to Light Strike Array. You do rely very heavily on the initiation coming from the rest of your heroes. And Slark, he likes to go in and jump and find solo kills. Try and find the squishy guys in the back lines. And yeah, I guess with a Blink Dagger, there's like Shadow Strike, Ice Blast. There's so many things that can cancel it out. It doesn't really act as a defensive tool anymore. It is pure aggression. Whereas Shadow Blade, you can kind of go both ways. You're forcing IG to go with Sentries and Dust, but not too sure. Blink Echo into Ferrari with a Chain Stun as well. Rabbit finds himself a kill with June taking the last hit there. Nice little TP in, and that's June's Blink, showing off how strong it can be this early on. 17.5 minutes in, Earthshaker off lane. He was saving up a lot of gold, but he's back up to 1,000 after that kill.
Yeah, and that's really huge. Being able to pick off Ferrari, who's already under-leveled and under-farmed compared to the Shadow Fiend, is really, really big. Just because he did eventually catch up, but this is just going to set the SF on an even more snowbally path. And after that setup as well, the Slark jumps to second in net worth. The Axe hasn't had too much to farm just because he's looking for rotations on the map. Burning is still in the off lane. And so aggressively farming for him isn't actually a thing. So you see NewBee kind of catch up here, and the pace of the game is just completely slowed down, which does favor them in a lot of ways. And the A blast, Ice Blast comes in, Rabbit is dead.
Where was he? Up on top? Yeah.
Yeah, he was going for the tower deny, and they just... I mean, the fact that he's got level 2 A blast 18 minutes, like, come on. Like, that's just a rough life.
It really is. Well, you're saying the pace of the game slowed down. I was kind of looking at the graphs, and that really does indicate it. NewBee dragged it back a little bit, but it's plateauing, and then going back down to favor IG. Experience-wise, it's always gone down to IG, but the net worth, where NewBee are bringing back a little bit of gold, having a little bit of farm time. They're going to blink forward. They're not going to find anyone. A TP out. Already back towards the mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to lose this bottom tower, but... They're okay, Durka. Most of the issues that come for NewBee is just the fact that their supports have had so many roams that haven't worked out, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like that 4,000 net worth is the worst thing in the world. Like, you're getting out-towered after this as well, so probably not in the worst position if you're NewBee, right?
No, they've still got like pretty massive nuke damage. The Queen of Pain still has to be very afraid of this Lina. Because if she does get disrupted, Light Strike Array into Laguna Blade, there's a very high chance she just dies straight up. And then there's the Yule's Requiem. There's no BKBs over on IG just yet. There's no one building into them very quickly. Axe will be looking for the one maybe next. Could go for Blade Mail. Could look into Shivas or Aghanims. But I think BKB for him is going to be pretty vital. Morphling looks like he's going into a Manta style. Could be Scardy's first item. Lincoln Sphere a possibility. I'm not sure. Where do you think Burning's going to go? There's no Orchid to jump out of. Lincoln's, yeah. Oh, Perseverance is already picked up. There we go.
Yeah, it's really good against the Shadow Demon, because Shadow Demon is one of the better heroes against Morph 2, just because you can amplify and set up for so much. And if he gets perma lockdown, and look at NewBee's lineup, there's just like so many things that can perma lock him down with the Shadow Fiend, and there's only like 2 spells that really focus him, right? It's the Yule Scepter, which would set up for stuns on him, the Shadow Demon Disrupt.
Oh, they jump in. Sunshine taken out instantly there by the Queen of Pain. June, not even a chance to get a Fissure out as Burning stuns him up. Ice Blast is like, yep, guys, I threw it, but he killed everyone already. Banana sort of wanders his way back towards the tier 1 tower as top lane. Guess who's farming? Faith up here, point booster after Midas, and heading into his Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, and he's just getting... It's actually kind of funny, like, how farmed he is. I thought it was a bit trolly, but now he's just getting really big. And at the same time, too, he's just picked up a gem for his team. Like, the amount of impact he's had just kind of by existing right now is huge. And Rabbit, if he goes down here...
He gets his Shadow Dance off and skitters away, but Luo found him, took him down to relatively low HP. Ice Blast again. As a last second thought, like, oh yeah, you found someone. Ice Blast is launching from the top lane. Just wait a second, hold him there for another minute or so. It's incoming. Burning. Lincoln's 21 minutes in on what was essentially an off-lane Morphling for a good 6 or 7 minutes. It's really good timing there. As Chuan, 1250 gold after Earn and Tranquil. Oh my god, not Tranquils. Arcane Boots is heading into his Blink Dagger. IG, their item progression is pretty good, but Rabbit's got 2500 saved up. His next item could be a game changer. Shadow Fiend has still yet to use that Yule's Requiem combination, and now he has a BKB, so he can kind of walk into these fights, not be too afraid of being lifted up, telekinesis. The things that stop him, things like telekinesis and call, are quite often going to be used by IG very early in the fights to start things off. So if he comes in as a secondary hero to try and fight into them, gets the Yules onto the Queen of Pain or Morphling, he could get away with it.
What I'm really curious to see is what happens once Faith does pick up an Aghanim Scepter. Like, how are you going to approach the fight if you're NewBee? They have to be really careful. Spacing is a really big deal for them, and you're seeing them grouped up as 5 bottom just because of the fact that they're so afraid. Or I guess it's 4, but... and IG haven't had to have Faith rotate to fights, but now he's incoming in Sansheng.
Oh man.
Should be dead off of this, and does throw the stun and the Laguna out.
Disruption to save him as well. Ferrari's dead to Rabbit.
Wow, and Chuan might actually be going down too. Mood just picks up his BKB.
Yeah, comes in and takes him out.
And Axe does manage to get a kill at the same time, though, on the Earthshaker, but... I mean, complete worth if you're NewBee. I thought Sansheng is 700 HP. I thought he was going to go down in half a second.
Disruption saves him at the last minute, and the fact that Queen of Pain has Necro too, you know, he pops them after jumping in. The aggressive blink is putting him in really rough situations. Hit by the Light Strike Array, and he still has to be so careful of Sansheng's Lina. Because look, he's what, 1200 HP, something like that on this Queen of Pain. Maybe closer to 13 with Strength Treads and Necro, but still can get nuked down, and Rabbit goes for the Shadow Blade. So 23 minutes in with another 900 in the bank. He's got the power to go hunting down the AA. I wonder, does he go up to the top lane and through the jungle? He's got to know that there will be one person farming that. The problem is, will there be people sitting behind that one person farming? Is Axe going to be ready to call you? Is Chuan going to be ready to telekinesis and lift you away?
Yeah, and Faith using the courier right now actually to D-ward, and this is going to make things even rougher for NewBee to invade the jungle. And Rabbit, if he could catch Faith out right now, this would be huge. With Faith,
the courier?
The courier might be just as big, and Faith is spotted out.
He's not going to TP. Gets the gem as well. Rabbit, no, he doesn't pick it up. The courier takes the gem away. The micro there, but 2-man Echo Slam from June. Comes in, does a lot of damage, but he'll get ripped apart. The Culling Blade not even in time. The rest of NewBee, though, Moo does not have Requiem. That could have been a massive play, but instead he gets called and turned back around. Queen of Pain's already dead as Axe gets right-click down with the Light Strike Array, keeping him in place. IG on the retreat now. They've lost their Earthshaker, but Rabbit and Moo, they're on the rampage. Requiem in 5. He still doesn't have it. He'd love to have that massive burst damage, but with Rabbit there, 1 hit, 2 hits. Chuan dropping incredibly low. The stacks built up by the Slark played by Rabbit. The amount of hits he got out in that team fight.
Yeah, and just being able to initiate on the Ancient Apparition without any rebuttal has been so huge, but they don't manage to pick up the gem, but they get 3 kills on top of that, and NewBee are just kind of out fighting IG right now, even with the disadvantage that they had in net worth and the experience disadvantage that they had. It just feels like they're out fighting IG like crazy, and there's not too much that can go through that BKB if you're not being focus fired. Like, the Ancient Apparition was dead. The Queen of Pain didn't have the best angle because she was trying to play defensively the entire fight, so her ult wasn't coming in, and it just kind of feels like NewBee are outmaneuvering IG at the later phase of the game. Like, their laning phase, it didn't go well.
Understatement, I think. But
they've caught up after that, though.
A lot of the focus has been on Ferrari, though. You know, we saw throughout the laning stage the smoke roaming into Ferrari looking for the kills. They didn't get any. But in the team fights, it's always been Light Strike Array, Disrupt, pounce everything onto Ferrari and nuke him before he can get the Sonic Wave out. And that really has worked to their advantage, because one of IG's main combos here, or their main combo in general, is Blink Call, Ice Blast, Sonic Wave. And that's the way that they can basically wipe NewBee if they get those spells out onto multiple people. But if they don't, you know, it's a little bit rough here for Burning. He needs his E-Blade, he needs to continue farming. All of these messy skirmishes and fights are delaying his items and really giving the Slark and Shadow Fiend the boost they need in the mid game. You know, the Slark is sort of a late game carry. Shadow Fiend is more mid game focused with the magic nuke damage he's got. He does scale relatively well. But what does IG have? It is just the Morphling, right? The Queen of Pain, she's got good right-click attack damage, she's got a good attack animation, and she's obviously ranged with a blink, but she needs to itemize for it, and right now she's not. Oh, IG going for the sneaky Roche fight, but Faith is already picked off. The Fissure actually lands back on the Chuan, who does not get the gem. Who picks that up, actually?
I'm not entirely sure, but...
Is Gem on the Courier? Gem's on the Courier. Never mind. Ignore me. Faith put it back on the Courier in the base. Move with the DD. Heads into the Roche pit. Not too much damage done by IG to that. Do they go for the steal? Luo's on the high ground. Burning's ready to waveform in. But I don't know. This is incredibly risky. You go in and you pretty much die.
And Burning, he's waiting for the replicate to come up, and Banana might just disrupt him. And during this time, and he goes in so early. And
the call to Rabbit, the dunk. Can you get it? Sonic Wave will finish him as Moo stunned up. Laguna Blade onto Luo. He's got no HP left. He cannot tank through this damage as Moo still has a DD. Requiem. Oh, wow. Takes down two of them instantly. The dying Requiem actually finishes off Morphling after Shadow Fiend has died. Disruption, Light Strike Ray Chuan taken out as Luo has bought back on his axe. Re-entering the fight, Queen of Pain just buy back central. Get into that Roche pit, take Aegis to the Immortal, it's nearly dead. You've got to do this now. NewBee, they're not buying back for this.
And this is the advantage that Dire have in this Roche. Just because if you have your tier 2 up, then you can come back in. And they even have their tier 1 up still, and so getting into a fight right there for them at the Roche pit was the easiest thing in the world. Worth the buyback, it's worth the attempt. Burning dying there was a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, he did everything right. Like, he made a replicate of the Shadow Fiend so that he would get the presence of the Dark Lord and a bit of the damage of the SF as well. And, I mean, IG, they were a little bit on the back foot. They got picked off there at the Roche pit, and things kind of started to look a little bit poor, but all of a sudden, you see them kind of swing things back in their direction. And now, Ferrari, he's got a gem, and you remember when I said that he had kind of caught up to the Shadow Fiend in levels? At one point, he was level 11 when the Shadow Fiend, like, skyrocketed to 16. Like, I want to really make that clear. It was like, Ferrari actually didn't get a level for, like, 5 minutes. And the Shadow Fiend just got, like, 4 on top of that. But now he's level 14, he's caught up a little bit, and he's got an Aegis, most importantly. And he's got the gem as well, and so NewBee, if they want to make movements around the map, they have to use the smoke at this point. Like, and it's not going to restock for another 6 minutes. So you're kind of just running around blind at this point.
June and Sansheng hiding behind Moo here. They've got Blink Force over on the Earthshaker. Banana's Shadow Demon, you know, Urn, Staff of Wizardry. Not sure where he's heading with that. Could be Force Staff for himself. Mobility is going to be key here, but Yule Scepter even for the Lina is nearly done to set up that Light Strike array. You could go for another Yule's over in Banana if you really wanted to. The smoke from IG that you mentioned, you know, they're heading through the Radiant Jungle with a replicate of Axe. E-Blade for the Morphling now picked up. So he could jump in here, but NewBee grouping up as 5 over near their secret shop as Rabbit basically has Skadi done. Ultimate Orb and Orb of Venom are the remaining pieces to finish that off.
Yeah, Moo's really kept NewBee in this game just through his net worth and how many levels he's picked up early game, and he didn't have the best start, obviously getting ganked twice through smokes, and he's really caught up, and in terms of net worth, he's at the top of the game, even topping Burning. And they need him to have a big game.
NewBee have pretty much evened the game out. Net worth difference close to 0. Experience-wise, you know, IG, they bring things back a little bit with the ending of that Roche fight, but NewBee did actually go into the lead for a small portion there. They will smoke themselves up and look for a pick-off. Luo is pretty far forward.
Oh, no,
Actually, the first person they see is Faith. Yeah, Yule's up. Requiem here from Moo. See ya.
And he actually has had a lot of farm, which we mentioned, but
Ferrari
just had 0 impact.
Blinks it to everyone. June gets called up. The Sonic Wave will not take him down because of the great disruption there. Echo Slam will now be available for them as Luo taking so much damage. Laguna Blade seals the deal on that, and the focus is on Sansheng. The support Lina is the focus here from IG. Not the Shadow Fiend, not the Slark. They want to get any kill that they possibly can. Now trying to look for Moo. Burning has a waveform. Get over that cliff. Ferrari, blink in a second. Shadow Strike, but the blink out from Moo. Gets himself to safety. Rabbit, Slark, and Shadow Fiend. Last two guys standing.
That was such a good play by the Shadow Demon, though, getting the disruption off on the Earthshaker. It meant that the Axe wasn't able to just get a quick kill and get out. He actually took so much damage trying to just kill the Earthshaker, which should have been dead to rights, and the fight could have easily gone even worse than that for NewBee, but still, on the power of the Aegis, IG is going to come out ahead of this, and Burning didn't even get the Blade off. All he had to do was right-click in that fight. And in terms of levels as well, he's caught up and slightly overtaken the Shadow Fiend now.
Yeah, they did allow the Earthshaker to get Echo Slam, but it wasn't a big one he was looking for. Couldn't force, couldn't blink, couldn't get into any more targets than the Earthshaker. Rabbit, though, Faith is right there. Faith is an easy kill. Pounce and Dark Pact, he's trying to TP, but he can't escape from the little fish man.
Yeah, now this is Faith's levels and experience and gold working against him, just because he's feeding so much to Rabbit every single time he dies. Like, normally you'd be picking off a level 9 AA with no items, so it wouldn't have the biggest impact on the game, but every single time Rabbit picks him off, he gets some farm on top of that, and he picks up a level, and he gets closer and closer to the Scotty, and Faith hasn't had the best game now. Like, his ultimates haven't had impact at all in these fights. He's only 1-4-1, and so typically you'd see an Ancient Apparition either get kills or just not die.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really had either.
Yeah, you see it from some players, you know, they do sit on the safe lane more often than not, just pushing it out all of the time, and then you just go and hide in trees. Like, we so often see AA hiding in these little nooks and crannies, just making sure he doesn't get picked off. But Faith, he wants to finish off Aghanim Scepter, and he's getting pretty close to that. So farming the jungle is one of the ways he wants to do it. Skadi actually picked up by Moo a couple of minutes ago. He has progressed so quickly. From your Scepter to Blink and then BKB, every second I look at him, he's got some new component for a new item, saving up another 1,000 gold. Rabbit, Skadi is, what, about 600, 700 gold away right now. While Luo is struggling to build into BKB, an item that he should have had maybe, 5 minutes ago. Ferrari, again, struggling to get into that next tier 2, tier 3 item.
Yeah, and he's had his Necro book, but he's trying to desperately pick up a BKB, I think, and he needs one to survive. If he gets Earthshaker stunned, he just dies. If Shadow Fiend finds him, he dies. And so, when you're faced with those two options, you need a BKB at some point, but even then, your item progression just kind of dies because you're getting a semi-late game-ish BKB, and it's not going to change too much in the way of damage right now for him.
Chuan with the blink, signaling out, let's go and take over this bot lane. Stop them farming their jungle. But Sansheng, he's level 12 now, heading to level 13. That level 2 Laguna Blade is going to be pretty damn scary for IG to deal with. The BKB for Queen of Pain and Axe will give them some respite for a short amount of time, but once Sansheng gets a little more farm and gets into that Aghanim Scepter, there's nothing that's going to save you. 4 Staff of Banana is all but done. Just needs the Ring of Regen now, 180 gold until that. It's I don't know what IG do. If they fight head on head, things get so messy. It's basically 50-50. There's no way of really controlling the fight to fit your heroes, to fit your style, unless Axe gets that big blink call in.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for all their BKBs and finding a time here. Ferrari's relatively close to his. The Axe has finally picked us up. Honestly, Axe getting BKB probably means more than Ferrari picking up a BKB. Like, he needs some way to not just call in, get stunned up right after it, and then get blown up. So him getting a BKB is absolutely huge here. Doesn't go for the blade mail or anything like that, which I definitely agree with, because it's not going to do too much against NewBee's lineup. And Moo does have the Scotty. He's got 2.5k gold on top of that. I mean, this guy has godly farm right now, but Burning's picked up his own BKB, and I think once you see IG pick up all their BKBs, they'll definitely look for a fight around either Roshan. I think it's honestly going to be Roshan. Like, that's probably what you're going to be most successful at doing right now, because you have dire advantage. Burning could buy back, right? Yeah, he's got 1,500 gold. It's available to him. He's like 200 gold short, but that's nothing.
Yeah, Queen of Pain currently sitting on buyback as well. No one on the Radiant is anywhere near, really, as Burning just gets his. Roshan, with all the little choke points around you've got for Luo to jump in and call people, I think it's a good shout that they'll be fighting around there. Who'd you give it to, though? We saw them give it to Ferrari previously, just so he has that potential to jump in and not really care about dying the first time. Burning is pretty strong now with his BKB Lincoln's E-Blade. He doesn't suffer too much in the team fights. And Axe, yeah, he doesn't... Yeah, you don't want to give it to him. I think Ferrari's still the best option, just to make sure he survives and can keep building items.
Yep, and Ferrari, once he gets his BKB, you'll finally kind of start to see him do stuff, because in every single fight, it feels like Ferrari just gets blown up. And he had the Aegis last time, so that kind of worked out for them. But I mean, IG have all of their relevant timings. Like, they've got 16 on everybody. Moo's going to get hit by this Ancient Apparition Blast. And it's on the Ag's upgraded one, so he doesn't care too much.
And smoke up from them. Roshan could have potentially spawned now. There's another 50 seconds, minute or so until that's done. They're heading through the Ancients, though. They want to try and find Burning or someone farming across that way. Chuan with a haste. Gets through, places an observer ward, unfortunately near a sentry, but there's still the potential for that sentry to expire before NewBee actually wrap around there. Luo gonna get picked off though. No! Blinks hit the Ancient Pit, BKBs and TPs out. He's gonna make his way out. There's no way that should have happened as the replicate of the Queen of Pain. Echo Slam even used for that one. Man, the commitment onto that replicate.
And things are just going from bad to worse for NewBee, because look what Burning is doing. What do you really do? Alright, if you TP out here, you're gonna lose Aegis. Like, that's just the trade, and Burning actually is willing to get into a fight, and Rabbit does have the Shadow Blade up as well, and Burning's starting to stab more. I think he actually just he should just TP, and they should get into this fight, and yeah, it looks like that's what they're gonna go for right now.
Requiem onto Chuan. The Earthshaker and Lina already dead though. And it's top lane dunk from Luo. Takes down Shadow Demon. So a 3-for-1. While Burning basically just held Rabbit there and said, okay, you can fight me. I'm not going to die here. You can waste all of your spells. You've already TP'd up. But the rest of your team are getting crushed down near the Roche Pit. And guess what? The big man respawns. Burning joins in and says, thank you very much.
That's the kind of split pushing you want to do, by the way. If you want to have impact, it's to force them away from the Roche Pit. You send anybody else but the Slark to deal with it, you'll die to the Morphling. But at the same time, what do you go for? You kind of put NewBee into a desperation position there by doing that. It's either A, we go for the Roche Pit and we all in, and then Burning will take the tier 2 and come in anyways, and you'll lose the fight at that point. Or B, we just back away from the Roche Pit and we lose the Aegis anyways. And they went for the worst possible option, losing 3 heroes on top of that. Able to pick off the Rubik, yeah, sure, but that's going to cost most of SF's BKB charges. He's only up to 5 now, and now things start to look really bad for NewBee.
They've hit these really unusual power spikes where it's like, oh look, they're going to go and win these fights, they're going to pick off the Queen of Pain, but this, right now, like you were saying, with the 3 BKBs up, Axe, Morphling, and Quap. Aghanims, is that done for Faith? Yeah, Aghanims plus Gem. Rabbit is pretty much going for the desperation play. Looking for the kill in the jungle. He's not going to find anyone as Chuan blinks himself back. Rabbit still going in deep here. Shadow Blade and Pounce. Chuan still held in place by that Pounce, and he's still going to go down. Rabbit diving, but now, Morphling. Burning Adaptive Strike, and there's no way out. Rabbit pounces over. He's got no TP, no invis. He's got Shadow Blade in 1 second's time with a Fisher out from June. And Banana here, giving up his life. The Martyr. Take mine. Rabbit manages to walk himself away from that. Butterfly for the Shadow Fiend. There's no MKBs in sight, as Faith is still tanking up creeps, trying to farm through.
Yeah, and Faith finally has his Aghanim Scepter. I mean, I thought that item was going to come on him at like 25 minutes or something like that, but he's been picked off so often by the Slark that it slowed things down. But in terms of support net worth, did I say that? I said net worth, but he still tops the charts. He's even overtaking the Earthshaker in terms of net worth as well. The Earthshaker desperately trying to farm up a BKB, but I don't even know if that helps him that much.
Ferrari is just getting right-click down here. E-Blade and Adaptive Strike. Now in comes Luo with a call. Moo went to farm his own jungle. Fisher will lock Burning in. Tries to go for something. He's going to use himself up in the air. 2 seconds until blink. Can't get it. He can't get it. 4 staff back. Maybe now. He can blink back.
Oh no.
In comes the Axe. Calls up Rabbit and June, but Yule stepped him once again. Sansheng, Light Strike Ray will land on the 2 with the Echo Slam. Rabbit, he's turning things back around. Burning's got no mana, no HP, but he does have Aegis of the Immortal.
Rabbit's stealing so many stats, and man, that could have been absolutely disastrous for NewBee if they lost the Shadow Fiend there. Ferrari baiting him into overcommitting, and the Axe missing the dunk at the last second. The kill threshold must have been so small, and him living there really turns things around for IG right now at this point. And the Shadow Fiend even using himself in the air because he sees it coming a mile away with all the towers spotting it as well. I mean, NewBee, This is such a weird game. Like, things look really bad for them, and then it feels like IG is just slipping up a little bit in the shadow, and the Queen of Pain is just not having a whole lot of impact. Like, she even missed her ultimate on the tail end of that SF as well. An overcommitment by IG. I don't even know if you call it that, just because that should have been a kill.
It was good force staff from the Earthshaker though, good positioning from Moo, realizing where his teammate was. But yeah, Ferrari blinked and then got blinked on by the SF, completely caught off guard. Axe was in the vicinity, but they didn't have anyone to instantly react. Rubik was nowhere nearby. Faith couldn't Ice Blast, though. There was no one to finish off the Shadow Fiend. Actually, Chuan going in here on Rabbit. Ice Blast will land, but Rabbit keeping himself away. Waveform, is he going to tick over here? He's taking a ton of damage. There's the Adaptive Strike from Burning.
And that's a huge kill for them, being able to pick off the Slark. It opens up the rest of the map and keeps a little bit of presence for IG and NewBee. I mean, Moo just continues to get really farmed. He's got his BKB at 5 seconds, but he's got a Butterfly now to deal with some of the damage, and probably sell his treads to try to get travels. I think Yules is still a prevalent item in this game, though. I don't know if he gets rid of that before he gets rid of the Blink Dagger, honestly. But he's going to need more physical damage at some point to deal with a triple BKB. IG playing really aggressively right now. They don't have the best lockdown, though, aside from the Axe.
Ferrari doesn't have a Hex or anything. Starts things off with a Shadow Strike and a few right clicks. There's the Axe. Blink in. Yule's a little bit too late. A Sunshine, a Banana. Sonic Wave and Ice Blast. Good night.
Yeah, they're both supports going down. It's annoying for NewBee, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It might mean their tier 2 tower goes down, but it's still not the worst thing. Like, they obviously wouldn't have wanted to lose anybody, but you're going to lose a tier 2 tower for this at worst. Probably not going to get racks. There's not an Aegis up for IG. I think IG wait for the next Aegis, and then they go for it. I mean, they've demonstrated they're just better at fighting around the rush pit. Plus, they have the dire advantage, so there's no reason not to go for stuff like this. Like, Burning has a replicate up, and he's got a Butterfly and a BKB, so he's probably going to take this tier 2 tower down by himself as well, and there's no glyph available. NewBee just kind of have to be a little bit careful about how they fight this at this point, because you don't want to overcommit for just a tier 2 tower. It's really going to be the Aegis fight that matters the most for you at this point.
I was wondering what Lua was going with that voice Tony picked up. Yule Scepter. I considered maybe a Lincoln's like the Morphling, but Yule's there. What is that directly aimed at? Is it just another defense mechanism? So if he does get caught out by the Shadow Fiend Yules and he doesn't want to use his BKB, he can then Yules and blink out?
I think it's just a good option when your BKB runs out. I mean, there's never... If you think about it, Yules is like the perfect item. You can use it to set up, you use it defensively, use it to save people.
Yeah.
There's just so many applications for that item that you can pull off at the top of your head.
And then I guess also as Axe with mana problems, it gives you that regen just to keep spamming out all of your spells. Yeah, movement speed, it just has so many facets. It's a ridiculous item, but
it's pretty good at Dota.
The item is pretty good at Dota. I agree. Burning, another 3,000 gold up for him, heading into his next big item. As Banana scrambling around, trying to D-ward, limit IG's vision a little bit, as they're encroaching on the final third, getting up into these tier 3s soon. One tier 2 tower remaining, as Roshan find out when he respawns in about 2 minutes' time. Faith, what do you go for next? You've got the Aghanims, and that's sort of like, well, I'm an AA. I'm feeling pretty good right now. Midas and Aghanims. We've seen E-Blades, but it looks like it's going to be a Hex. Ultimate Orb for Faith. Hex up against the Slark and Shadow Fiend. That's going to be pretty good for them. As long as he's in the fights.
Yeah, Ferrari going to farm out this jungle. He's almost 6-slotted right now, and a 6-slotted morph. NewBee do have deep ways to deal with him. They've got the Shadow Fiend and the Slark. They've got a duo core in their own. Like, NewBee's situation isn't the worst thing. Like, their dual core is pretty strong. Like, you've got a Shadow Fiend and a Slark. Both are okay late game. You're against a Queen of Pain who doesn't have the most farm in the world, and an Axe who also is kind of built up more of a utility hero right than a carry. So NewBee not in the worst shape. The problem right now is that how do you really contest into the Roche Pit? The only thing that they have to really gain vision is the Shadow Demon Poison, but he's like level 12, so you don't want him to get initiated on either. And if you're getting that close to just cast the poison, things get rough for you, and Rabbit can't die at all. Him dying would just spell the end of the fight for you. Possibly the end of the game if he doesn't have buyback on top of that. And so things get a little bit tricky right now for NewBee. Like, it's mainly just come down to the fact that the Roshan is too easy for IG to take.
Yeah, and the meaning of the Aegis isn't, you know, to secure yourself farm or to secure yourself team fights. This is going to be the one with Cheese, right? This is going to be the third Roshan. It's going to be pushing up onto high ground and finishing the game.
Yeah, this is gonna be Rax for IG, and this has kind of always been the timing now with this patch is that you just with the first Aegis you just use to take out all the outer towers. With the second one you just secure yourself fights, and then the third one is the high ground one, depending on the course of the game so far.
Oh, Burning 5,000 gold. He's got quite a bit of bank saved up there as Luo, along with Chuan and Faith, heading through the Radiant jungle once again. But all of their observer wards have been taken out. We've seen the Spy ward and the little observer ward that they had down here in the jungle. Rabbit has been doing a very good job. You know, it's not that difficult, but he's been walking around in pretty much any spot he can, saying, okay, they can see me here, they can see me there, and then telling Banana accordingly. Got to de-ward everywhere. Got to try and limit IG's vision as they do get up into that high ground area. That's an MKB for Mu, actually all done. Butterfly on Burning. Going to be mitigated by that, but Burning has a demon edge of his own. Is he going MKB to deal with a Shadow Fiend's Butterfly?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the most likely option, just because, you know, there's a Butterfly, and it would stop the Slark, who really needs another defensive item like that, from getting one. So Morphling, yeah, he completes his BKB, and I think this also signals the fact that IG expect to take this next Roshan. And he's got the replicate up. He's trying to farm out and push out the lanes a little bit. And if you notice, he's beelining for top. He's completely skipping both of these camps, so this isn't a farm move at all. He's just trying to put pressure on top. What he's doing right now is the same as what he did earlier. It's, okay, come for top. What's going to happen? Like, if you come for me, I've got a BKB, a replicate up, a Lincoln's as well, all the defensive capabilities in the world. But if you don't come for me, you're going to lose your racks because I do so much damage. And now NewBee are just put in this position, which is so awkward. Like, how do you really maneuver? Because if you give up the Aegis, you probably... It's not the fact that you lost, it's more the fact that it becomes really easy for IG to take fights with an Aegis and a Cheese. And at top, I mean, Rabbit's going to commit for it. And then Burning's going to see it. And
Replica back and smoke into Roche Pit. Rabbit, you got to start running. Got to start running, even pouncing, Shadowblade, everything. Just get that movement over there. Looks like NewBee want to smoke themselves up as well. With Basher up on Rabbit, that's the item he's gone for into Abyssal Blade. But buyback status right now is non-existent for...
IG's so smart. They're instead of going for the Roche, they're saying, okay, they're probably going to contest this because Rabbit didn't show at top anymore. So they're like, oh, they're definitely contesting this.
NewBee walk in and then they realize their mistake. The blink down, Luo fans too. With a Sonic Wave and Ice Blast, they're obliterated. Mu comes in to try and right-click them down, but nothing's going to stop IG right now. They'll chase down Mu and demolish him with the E-Blade. Laguna Blade onto the poor old Axe, who uses himself after being used by the Lina, saving himself on the Light Strike Ray, and Burning's on the hunt. With the call from Axe, that's a clean-up from IG.
Yeah, and with 5 dead, I mean, I'd be really surprised if IG could throw this away, and that was just a really good play. They played the map perfectly. Like, Burning forces the position at top. Even if Rabbit makes his way over there, the thing is, Durka, there's no way that they get vision in there without checking, and it's a positioning game at that point. Like, it's so rough playing Radiant in a close-ish game like this, just because there's too many ways for IG to open up the map or maneuver around you at that point. Like, they could come in from the top, they could come in from the jungle, which they did. Like, there's just too many angles to get opened up on, and at this phase of the game, the Shadow Fiend just doesn't tank enough. Like, that's a 5-second BKB, it runs out, Burning blows him up using the F-Blade. He doesn't have anything like a Satanic or some sort of follow-up defensive item, so it doesn't even matter at this point.
Do you not think that NewBee, once they reached this sort of rune spot area, the smoke didn't break, they've got to realize, right?
Yeah, but the thing is,
once you're in that spot,
how do you really react to that? You can't get out at that point. Like, IG just have better position. You don't know if you walk into your jungle at that point and try to get out, if there's going to be 5 heroes waiting for you. Like, there's just too many open parts of the map at that point for you to have to worry about it. And with both cores down right now, NewBee's going to get double raxed. Burning's definitely going to take this out. And they could even get triple raxed if NewBee aren't careful and lose their cores.
Shadow Fiend respawning with half souls. Not exactly where you want to be. Now, we spoke about Storm and his pretty good defensive capabilities when respawning or buying back. You know, you're instantly back in the fight defending. Shadow Fiend is kind of the opposite of that. You've got to build up, get some souls, maybe with a lucky hero kill. You know, you get a whole bunch from that. But now defending against melee Rax down at mid lane. They didn't get Rax a bot. IG playing a little defensively there. They still have, you know, Aegis Immortal in the Quap, but who got the cheese? It was AA got the cheese. He's moved it over to someone else. Axe. Okay, Lure has that. But gold-wise, you know, after Roshan taking racks, clearing out creep waves, and then the Radiant jungle with a full team wipe to boot. It just gave IG so much gold. Their items, what are you seeing now? Another 6k. MKB was just done by burning. A minute and a half, 2 minutes ago. He's got another 6,000 gold. AA had Ultimate Orb, he's got another 3k. You're just going to see the next big tier items come out from IG, and NewBee will not have anything to respond with. All they've got left is buybacks, and actually, that's a lie. They don't have buybacks.
This is going to be the big fight right now. Rabbit is being sent up front to try to tank stuff out. IG repositioning themselves, getting ready for this. Ferrari does have the Aegis as well. There's a cheese up, I believe, on
Axe.
the Axe. Yep. So getting into a fight, you have to anticipate essentially 7 lives, but the same could be said for NewBee as Mood does have a buyback. Rabbit, I mean, he's so far away from one. Unless they dominate the team fight, it's gonna be rough for him. And Sansheng doesn't have his buyback as well, trying to desperately get an Aghanim Scepter to be able to do something, and IG are gonna push up high ground with this.
Well, Moo on the front lines, he's back up to full souls. Fisher slows down the advance, but Ferrari with the Hex and Aegis Immortal, he can just blink up onto Moo. Do you think that's the play? You blink Hex and then E-Blade just obliterate Moo, force him to buy back? Or do you want to play it a little slower and just slowly but surely whittle away at these racks with things like Necro Books?
Don't all in if you're IG at this point. You don't have to get that aggressive. You're just waiting for NewBee to kind of play out of position while defending. Like if Rabbit messes up, then it could potentially mean a Rex like that.
Ferrari
sending his Necro 3.
up the top, yeah. Want to clear out that Rax while the rest of the heroes down at bot burning. Up onto the high ground, killing catapults. It's Ferrari sort of walking back and forth like, yeah, come on then, come on me. Try and initiate. I've got Lure behind me. Fisher does nothing whatsoever to burning. Slug now pounces in. BKB's popped by both. The bashes onto Ferrari. Oh, freaking annoying as actually the Echo Slam onto burning. Requiem not doing a damn thing as he's BKB'd up. The Ice Blast will fly across and land onto one. But that one is Moo. The Shadow Fiend is forced to buy back at this point. Rabbit pounces away. Ferrari, his second life.
Ferrari's getting quite low though, but he does manage to blink out an IG. Get it out of that without no casualties.
They've still got cheese on Luo. They took the ranged racks mid, and there's lots of momentum being pushed through there. And now you're looking at a situation where NewBee, they've got no ultis left. They're all on cooldown. Shadow Fiend has 25 souls. Sure, he's going to build them up. IG can just go for round 2 here. Or round 7, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, if you're IG, you have a big enough lead at this point. It doesn't matter.
Oh, blink call, Rabbit. Oh man, Chuan with a stolen Requiem blinks in and obliterates him. Ice Blast will just catch. He tried to get himself out, but now Rabbit's dead with no buyback. Slug's gone. The Lina, same story as Banana, self-disrupt. Do you have buyback, buddy? No, you don't. 3 heroes dead, and IG taking out the second lane of ranks. GG is called. Game 1 goes the way of Invictus Gaming. Not an easy win, though, against NewBee.
No, it could have been, but it felt like NewBee did all the right things to come back into the game. Their ganks, I mean, time after time, they didn't pay off, but eventually the mid-game went a little bit better for them. Their Slark, I thought he played that really well. Like, being able to pick off the Ancient Apparition, he realizes, okay, if an A gets that farmed, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's an Ancient Apparition. It's like a child that can't defend itself, you know? And Rabbit has a Shadow Blade. You're not going to survive against that. So normally when you pick off an Ancient Apparition or Rubik, you're like, oh, they're level 10, level 8. It doesn't really matter, but in that situation, when an Ancient Apparition's level 14 and he's kind of getting close to Aghanims, every single time you do that, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pocket Change usually is. Interesting he didn't go for a Ghost Scepter on AA just to deal with the Slark, but then he's still against Shadow Fiend, Lina, Earthshaker with magic nuke damage. But guys, we'll be back for Game 2 in a short moment. In this best of 3 for the ESL 1 Chinese qualifiers for Frankfurt this year. Game 2 coming up soon. They're 11-4 so far. NewBee, I couldn't really go that far back because they've had a lot of 2-game series where they've gone 1-1. They've drawn up with some of the big teams, but right now they're 6-4. They've lost quite a lot over the past couple of weeks. They've defeated eHome, but they're still losing to teams like HGT and CDEC. Whereas IG, they're on like a 7-game winning streak, a 7-series winning streak. They've definitely got they've definitely hit their stride. And they've got the steam going. But what do you expect from this best of 3?
Alright, so the thing that looms over everybody's head that you should discuss at all times is the fact that TI is coming up. And in some ways, it's unfortunate because, teams live and die around TI, but especially a team like NewBee, these guys, I mean, they've tasted the biggest victory ever by winning the largest prize pool ever in Dota 2, right? And so everything after that is going to feel like a bit of a letdown. But TI's coming up again, and I'm actually really curious to see what Valve do, because NewBee's just had the worst time. But they're the defending champions, and they've retained most of the, like, a really similar roster to what they had last time, right? Like, they've got 3 out of the 5 players. Who knows if they get a direct qualifier invite based on their previous success?
Yeah.
But I'd say that it's most likely not going to be a precedent where if you're the defending team but you suck throughout the rest of the year, you're probably not just going to get a direct invite, because Alliance and Navi, when they were directly invited again, they were still always okay. Same with IG, right? Like, they got TI in the preceding year and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be an interesting match just to see NewBee. They're probably going to play really hard the month or so leading up to TI and the qualifiers. And if they don't win the qualifiers, maybe that's the kick in the butt they need to say, okay, we can't just get by with what we've had before.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching them sort of progress though, because obviously straight after TI there were talks of them playing different games and playing RPGs and things like that, not focusing on Dota 2. But since January, you've definitely seen them progress from being very, very rusty, not really having the drafts or following what's going on in the rest of the Dota scene, not really watching Southeast Asian, European Dota. But the past, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, something's clicked. They have been performing a lot better than sort of January, February. They're still not up there yet, but I think I agree with you. The next coming months are definitely going to be telltale signs for whether or not NewBee, even get a qualifier spot for TI, never mind a direct invite. But the draft so far, Batrider and Storm taken out by IG so far. Pretty common heroes, while the Troll and Sniper, NewBee don't want to be dealing with them, allowing themselves to get the SF and ES. But Queen of Pain for IG. That's a pretty scary hero when you couple it up with AA, they're just global presence pretty much. Queen of Pain has so many openings just to blink in onto squishy heroes and take them out with that long-range Ice Blast.
Yeah, and the Queen of Pain right now, you've seen a huge resurgence in it. People really didn't know. With the buff, you didn't see it get picked quite often, but now teams are really starting to favor this hero really highly. I think I rang for BBC against NIP, and I rang for Hehe United against BBC, and both teams had really strong thoughts and opinions about Queen of Pain. She doesn't really lose her lane to anybody, and in this meta too, where BKB first or second item is really prevalent, she'll still do damage with her ultimate. And I think that the hero is strong in terms of laning, because you don't have to necessarily put it in the mid lane. You could do some really wonky stuff like we saw at MLG Empire. They dual offlaned with a Queen of Pain and an Undying. You can run it in the short lane like EG did with Fear. There's just a lot of options. Like, you're not static forced into putting this hero mid anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you can put it to contest a carry, to get free farm against an offlaner like something like Clock is what I meant to say. There's a lot of heroes that sound similar.
Yeah, definitely. From Chinese teams, we're seeing a lot of safe lane Queen of Pain. Some of the tier 2 Chinese teams, picking up Orchid into Shadowblade. We saw that from Ferrari not too long ago as well. The Shadowblade to allow you to initiate with that and then, blink yourself further forward to carry on the chase, or blink back if you get into danger. So we're seeing some interesting things, just sort of it's not really theory crafting. It's just like, oh look, this item kinda works. Let's continue using this. It's a great damage dealer as well. But Chen, they're taken out after the Wisp. NewBee, they're betting out a lot of sort of meta heroes. Wisp for IG, don't want to be giving Ferrari or Burning tiny Wisp combination along with AA and Queen of Pain. You're just going to be hiding wherever you are on the map, trying to keep in the fog, keep in the trees, and it really does put a lot of pressure on your supports, where they need to keep the warding up just to see where Relocate's going to come from, where Burning's farming, and when that Tiny is going to get his Aghanims up.
Yeah. It seems, I think I've actually casted a lot of China Dota recently. Like, I cast the, was it the VP game finals as well, and it feels like drafting in China is definitely really different than drafting in the West, because in the West we favor heroes like Wisp and Chen, like at MLG, and I keep referencing MLG, but it was the latest tournament that was large, right?
Yeah.
And we saw those heroes banned, and at the Summit as well, like, you're probably going to see Chen and Wisp banned in the first 2 against almost every single team. And so it seems, though, that the Chinese players, captains, don't favor the hero as much. I think that Troll and Sniper are super highly rated at every scene. Like, that's the one common theme. And then Storm and Batrider, I think Batrider is still really commonly used everywhere. And Storm, this is kind of a weird pick, because I don't want to say it's overpowered, but in the competitive scene, it's really hard to stop him because he's gonna get farmed no matter what. He doesn't lose the laning phase doesn't matter as much just because of the fact that if you get a kill and you're level 9 Storm and you set up for a kill on the opposing mid who's like level 11, you'll catch right back up. So.
And quite often with Chinese teams nowadays, they kind of go down one path or another with their draft. There's lots of pick-off power, but a lot of the time they do go for sort of a 20 to 25 minute power push with the momentum they build up from lanes to try and take down tier 1, tier 2 towers. If there is a Storm in the game, and he can zip from the fountain, he can buy back and defend these towers relatively easily. It's not as great a draft anymore. You might think, okay, I've got Mech Shadow Fiend, I've got Juggernaut with Mask of Manus and Phase Boots,
Yeah.
and I'm running into these towers. All of a sudden, there's Storm, Queen of Pain, AA just suddenly on your ass, and there's no way to really continue pushing, and there's no real way to disengage when you're against the Storm Spirit. He's just got so much mana, the Soul Ring efficiency with his Ball Lightning as well. Chasing power is pretty ridiculous.
I think I said when I was casting with Toby that if there was supposed to be a nerf for Storm, it would be the armor. But I think Storm is more a product of the metagame right now and the patch. I should just say the patch instead of the metagame because buyback right now is so strong, and so is just the comeback potential of the hero itself, not just the patch, is too powerful, I feel. So I think if anything's going to be nerfed, it should be, instead of Storm itself, it should be buyback as a whole. I think should be changed a little bit or nullified. And the Roshan thing too, right? We saw EG, they play around the pit a lot with Sumail, just kind of zipping in. There's actually no way for the enemy team to really stop that. Or you can kind of predict it, but it's still hard if a Storm has like a BKB and he just decides to roll in and try to steal your Aegis, right? And that's really prevalent in this patch. And so it's become this thing where it's first pick, second pick, and you don't really worry about counters anymore because nobody really picks like Silencer as a support or anything. And it's not even like Skyrath. Skyrath's got like a weird power curve against him where he's useful with the silence, but if Storm gets a BKB or a Euls, then it becomes useless. But we shouldn't talk about that hero anymore because
he's banned out.
Yeah, he's banned out. But there's like so many thoughts I have on the hero and why things work out. So hopefully somebody finds that interesting. But NewBee take Lina.
Ooh.
Really powerful hero. Slark is a hero that we saw used a lot at the beginning of the patch, and not so much just because of the, Axe, Sniper, Troll all do well against it, and we see one of the heroes that are better against it as well just get picked up by IG.
Instantly from IG Faith. He's got NewBee's number right now, but I just want to come back to your Silencer thought. We did see that, especially in China, I want to say. Europe, not so much, but support Silencer in that 5 role, where they thought, okay, with a Storm and against the Storm, we can use it as like this umbrella ability, Global Silence, to play aggressively or defensively. It worked a lot of the time aggressively. When you're on the front foot and you're able to go in with Global Silence, you can completely nullify what your opponents do to defend towers or to turn fights around. Because a lot of the game nowadays is based on initiation and counter initiation. That's pretty much the way you look at team fights right now. Who gets into the key targets and who can take them out first and make up the numbers advantage to really turn things around. But when you're now on the defensive as a Silencer, Global Silence isn't that useful because heroes jump in. Once they're in, they've already got their initiation, they're already doing their damage, and Global Silence is sort of like I guess we'll try and run away and disengage, but it doesn't always work out that way.
The big thing too right now is that the 5 position role, it's mainly used for playing defensively, stacking, doing things of that nature, trying not to get picked off. And so I think that the hero just doesn't do enough. It doesn't add enough flavor to the game. It doesn't do well as a 4 because I don't think the roaming potential of it is high. A lot of 4s now that you see are heroes that can set up for kills or work in conjunction with other heroes to set up kills. But Global Silence takes too long for it to matter. And it's not like Last Word and Curse are the spells you need to kill a low HP hero, right? And so heroes like Lina, you'll see very commonly now as a support. Lion, things of that nature I think are a lot stronger. And we see NewBee, what looks like an offlane Earthshaker, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the Lina and the Shadow Demon combo, which, again, people are going to hate me for referencing, but EG ran quite a bit. Like, they ran PPD as the Shadow Demon, which is a hero that we saw almost completely phase out of this meta, but has started to kind of come back around.
Yeah, it's pretty great. He started off picking it as basically just a defensive support when Batrider was getting picked up. He's like, well, I guess, there's no Rubik, there's no anything else, really. Maybe Abaddon, but he didn't want to go that route, so now we're starting to see it from a lot of teams. I think London Conspiracy was the one that I always used to bring up. They loved it. They love the Shadow Demon, Lina, and, well, Kunkka or Invoker with Sunstrike, just to have that kind of cheesy control and just nuke someone down into oblivion. But Morphling is the final pick up here from IG, so it does leave Chuan on the Rubik and Faith on that AA. Axe heading towards the off lane, but where do they put the Morph? Because it looks like Queen of Pain mid and then Morph safe lane, just give that guaranteed farm to Burning on the Morphling. You could switch things up and put it mid.